Hey everyone, it's Aesah, and welcome to my video on evaluating streak gold. Throughout coaching hundreds of students, I actually find that the number one most common mistake that is costing people hundreds of LP is overvaluing loss streak. At the very high level, eking out a little bit of extra gold when the situation arises with a loss streak can be beneficial. However, I find that most players just overestimate how much streak gold they get. So in one stage, most relevant in stage 2, here are some different possible streaks you can have and the amount of total gold you get. Keep in mind that you'll get 1 gold for winning the round. So you can see that 5 loss is only barely better than this one above it, a loss win win as a mixed streak. It's only 2 more gold. And one thing to really keep in mind is a loss on average costs you about 5 HP, depending on whether you're trying to full open or play a board. But it'll cost you about 5 HP. So if you compare these two middle situations, the loss win, and the 5 loss, yes, you're up 2 gold, but you're actually down about 15 HP. There's one other thing I didn't mention, which is when you are winning rounds, frequently you have to invest gold into leveling. Leveling, of course, costs 4 gold to level to 4 on 2-1, and another 4 gold on 2-5. That's 8 gold total. 10 gold makes you 1 gold of interest. So by putting 8 gold into leveling, you're making a little bit less than 1 gold. You also might have to field more expensive units. Whereas if you're full loss streaking, you can sell your bench more aggressively and make those econ breakpoints. That can be double-edged, of course, because it'll save you HP in stage 3 and help you win rounds there by playing a board in stage 2. So in actuality, for the full loss streak, situations, you're actually making maybe like 5 more gold, depending on how aggressively you're loss streaking from interest. So you'll have to keep that in mind as well. That being said, once again, if we compare these two situations, you're making 2 more gold for 15 HP, and then maybe you're making 5 more gold of interest. So overall, like 7 more gold for 15 HP. This situation here is generally a much, much, much preferable situation to the 5 loss. And simply because the additional HP you have will allow you to make up that econ in stage 4. When you're full loss streak, oftentimes on 4-1 or 4-2, you will have to roll down to very close to 0 gold. And then throughout stage 4 and stage 5 and stage 6, if you make it that far, you will be making potentially 0 gold of interest per round. Whereas if you're healthy, you can keep 50 in the bank, and in one round, that's a 5 gold difference. Throughout the course of the entire stage, that's a 25 gold difference that you can make later in the game by being healthy. So once again, the reason I'm kind of explaining it in this kind of tone is because the number one most common mistake I see is people overvaluing loss streak. So even like a full mixed streak here, like a win loss is only 3 gold, whereas full loss is 7 gold. So it's actually not that big of a difference. As mentioned before, loss streak will let you make more econ, but if you full win streak, that's going to be the best scenario. And even something like loss into win is just as good as full loss. So when should you loss streak? I would say if you are already 4 loss, then always go for that 5 loss, because you'll see the difference between this 4 loss into a win into the 5 loss is a 3 gold difference, which carries over into stage 2, and I'll go ahead and show that now. So if you end up full lossing stage 3, sorry, I meant stage 3 earlier, if you end up full lossing, that actually becomes a pretty big gold difference. It's 11 gold. So if you are already 4 loss, it's pretty important to try to play your weakest board in order to get that 5 loss. Don't just try to swap out like 1 unit at the end to be greedy. Just play the absolute weakest board you can, because if you end up being greedy and trying to play, like a slightly weaker board, sure, maybe you'll kill 1 unit, but probably not even if you fight someone strong. But if you fight another person who's going for a loss streak, then you'll get punished pretty heavily. So if you're already 4 loss, then make sure you try to get that 5th loss. I would say otherwise, depending on what units you have, if you really have no options, you can start at 3 loss already. But in general, I would say for most players, I would not recommend loss streaking until you're all ready for loss. You may see very high ranked players, like challenger streamers, push for loss streaks earlier. That playstyle can work, but it is definitely more nuanced. And once again, you can make a mistake playing for a win streak where you should be playing for a loss streak. But I also find in lower ranks, even around like masters, most players are not properly putting together their boards in stage two. And if you just play for a win streak and work on that skill by identifying your strongest board in stage two, then you will actually be able to win 3 rounds very, very, very frequently and probably over 90% of games. And then you'll just be in a much better spot from the HP. Very importantly, in stage 2, 1 gold is probably worth about 2 HP, and in stage 3, 1 gold is probably worth about 1 HP. This is a really rough heuristic, but just based on my experience playing thousands of games of TFT, that's kind of how my average placement at the end of the game has kind of worked out. That's going to wrap it up on this video for evaluating streaks. Once again, don't overvalue lost streaks. If you have any comments or questions, let me know in the Discord, and thanks for watching.